Um,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You
and then
so
you put like the times, and then you click on the second one.
yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
right. So you always have to start with equals, okay? And then right away a couple things jump off the page at me here that I really don't like that I really like to have two places after the decimal point on this. So I can click on it and up here I can add my decimal places. And I can click on those and do likewise. You go out as many as you want, okay? You can go backwards, okay? Um, but but that's the basics of how you do any kind of math in Excel. You can rinse and repeat this 100,000 times, okay? And you'll be fine. Now the next part is now let me just go through another piece. Imagine you have a list of numbers like this and we want Dale said, "Hey, I'm good at I can select it and I can look down here in the status bar and see that that's 15." But if you wanted to do a sum of those numbers, right? There are a whole list of Excel features, but we can say equals once again and just start to type and it'll start giving you a list of things. Sum, and now it's looking for me um, to like select the numbers this way, and that gives me the total of those numbers. So you'll do this kind of thing over and over and over again in Excel. And why people like Excel versus a relational database is because I can do it in two directions, right? I can have numbers here and I'm just going to copy them down like that.
Let's
And
say they're
now
not. Let's say they're not in a sequence. Can you hold down the control button and select and then skip
well, like if I
one?
wanted to do those, right, like that, I could
Yeah.
say equals sum, and then I can just click,
Ah,
control
you
click,
just select
and
them.
control click. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm holding down my control key. You don't see it while I do
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Then it gives me those. And now if another great trick here is that when I move my cursor to this cell up here on the formula area, if I click here one time, it will show me what I included in this number, the blue, red, and purple, right? Same is true here. I can click and it will show me exactly what I did. So, and you can sum in this direction as well. So we can sum across. And anything that I'm doing with my cursor, notice that what I just did without saying it is that there is a little black cell handle, they call it, at the bottom right of this cell. You can see the little square on the corner. If I click on that, my cursor changes from a white plus to a dark plus, and that's a visual cue for people who know Excel that says you can copy that down. And just like I can do the same over here and see that little black handle it changes from a white plus to a black plus. Now I can go across and it'll add those numbers up for me. So, this is a very nice way to very quickly get your numbers to align, right? And so on. Um, and by the way, let's just do one other thing here. This is going to be the data values. And then let's do another piece here, which is data percentages. So now what we can do is here, I can say equals 1 divided by 15. And that will give me the percent of total. And then I've got these formats that I can choose from to add or delete any significant digits to that. So that works pretty well. I'm going to go down this column, right? And you expect um, these are and the data percentages are as a function of this this total column here, and then this total column here. And this might be like apples bananas, cherries, grapes, whatever, kiwi, right? All right. Now, I will say though, as soon as now, if I use that idea of taking the cell handle and like grabbing it this way, now all of a sudden these start to mess up and they give me bad values back because it's thinking that it's using, I copied it and Excel will adjust these. See how this says D6, I6? When I copied that, it moved to column E, which is what I want, but it forgot about keeping this as a fixed column right here. So the way around that in Excel, and this is now all of a sudden I'm going from very basic to like intermediate, is I can click on this and I can say, well, I want to keep the column constant so that if I use this formula, it's locking column I. And the way that you do that in Excel is you put a dollar in front of it and that locks it. And this is as technical as I'm going to get here, but notice now when I drag this down that those values all stay the same. But as I drag across, that now my calculation is indeed fixed. And see now that that 15, as I go from one column to the next, stays consistent. And now I can copy these numbers down this way. And those will add up. And now let's go one more level. We want these to add up to 100%. So I can just add, now I can add a sum on the end of this one. And that's exactly as you would expect. And what I'm doing to move these up so quickly is I'm using Control C, Control V, copy paste. So within Excel, you can either, this is what I see a lot of newbies doing, all right? They'll have this total and they'll be like, well, I want to copy it up. So they'll go, maybe they'll right click and they'll go copy and then they'll go paste and they won't know which one to use, or they'll do something off the menu, they'll click copy and they'll go click paste. Okay, maybe but that's kind of slow. But with Excel, with this handle in the corner, I can simply take that and drag it up like that, and it will fill all of those sums the way I want. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing on my F2 key to bring up the formula so you can see what range is selected for each of the rows. And I can do the same thing over here, right? By clicking on the formula bar. So Excel will always give you two or more ways to do the same task. So you can copy paste in 3 different ways. You can do sums in different ways, okay? But those are some things like adding numbers together and summing are 2 of the biggest things that you'll want to do. Now, let me return. So questions before we go from here. Okay.
Well, the idea I had, Paul, for you, what if we did like an Excel hack of the week? So I know you're bringing lots of things together, but one of the things I think would be awesome is just like break it apart into these, little 5-minute things that you could provide
right.
these little shorts.
Yep.
Right, 52, I
One
don't
a
know,
week.
one
One a
or
week.
like
One a week for a year.
3-minute things or 5-minute things
Yeah.
where you like a hack of the week.
Yep.
But so far, I mean, I'm learning just about groupings and any that I don't know if I'm picking up 100%, but because I'm also doing some other things in the background. But that was very insightful.
All right. Let me quickly, I don't want to spend a crazy amount of time, but let me go back to where I started now that you've got some of these very basic ideas. Okay. So what I did here is I divided this spreadsheet up that I'm trying to capture these transactions. I divided it into an input area that I titled as data entry, and then calculations. So what I want to do is take you very quickly now through the rest of this and show you how what I just walked through in terms of sum and additions, how that works when we have information in a list. So suppose that we're doing this trade on the 29th, and let's see, I'm looking for, and I got $20 for it, right? And I haven't exited it yet. And we'll call it, what are we trading at? What's the SPX going for right now?
69.05.
All right. So these are all the 69.05s, and they all expire today, 10/29. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. And then I typed in the strategy. It's a four-leg fly and any notes, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So now we have this list. And I want to know what's my cost basis? How much buying power am I consuming to do such a thing? So, well, we all know how that calculation is done. It's 5 times 20 times 100, right? So, in my cost
Well,
basis,
your cost basis might depend upon what your wings width. So it'd be 50 minus the credit you collected, which is 20. So
oh,
your
you
max
know what?
loss would be 30.
I'm abbreviating this, Dale, quite a lot.
Okay.
I'm imagining this from the standpoint of like when you execute a
Oh, I see.
trade and you say, I got $20. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we're still,
Like you bought it.
yeah,
Uh,
that's the amount that I paid for that four-leg fly. Okay.
okay. You paid for rather than collected.
Actually, that's the amount that I collected. It's the sell to open price, right? I got
Okay.
$20 for it. So,
All right.
so that being the case, what I've the cost basis of my entry is going to be that or I can just do it this way to be more precise. Entry price, right? We'll just do this. And so now I'm going to do the same thing here. Equals, I'm going to point to 5 contracts times 100 times $20, right? And so I pay $10,000. And if I got slightly different amounts, like this was 20, this was 1950, then that automatically updates the way that I want. Okay.
Okay.
So, um, so you have this ability, and I'm going to come to this. This is using a toss RTD function. Let me move this out of the way for a minute because I want to keep the function simple for a minute and then gradually add more complexity to this over time. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And all right. So now imagine now we come along and time passes and now we exit this thing. Okay. And I exit and oh, by the way, in keeping with my rule, remember I said before that anything that is like data entry but not a calculation, I color that yellow. Well, I'm just going to use my mouse and select this whole area like this, and I'm going to color that in light yellow, just so that I know that this is where I enter the data and this is where I have calculations over here where it's white. Okay. Now, time passes. We got into this trade at 11:40 a.m. and now we're going to close it out at 18. Right? And let's say that we close it out at 10, 29, 25 at 12:55. Right? Don't know what that would be. Now I'm going to come back to the formatting here because it's probably already bothering you that the times are not shown. But I'll come back to how do you format cells in just a minute. So I've got my STO price, I've got my BTC price. So now let me calculate the exit value, right? So having done what we just did a second ago, I'm just going to say equals, and then I'm going to say it's 5 contracts times 100 times, guess what? The exit price, right? So that's what we got on exit, right? And now we keep going across here. And this is exactly like as Dale and I did a bunch of calculations for his workbook. We started going through these one at a time. So the gross income is now going to be equals this minus that, right? And we make $1,000 on that bad boy, right? See how that works? I mean, it's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you just start out and you start developing a list and you say, what are the inputs? What are my calculations? And then, commissions and fees. Now, this is a good one, all right? Because, like, what Dale does in his sheet is way out here on the right, he has an area for like other variables, and he'll have commissions and fees, right? And let's just imagine that we do it as, since you close out every trade by the end of the day, we're going to call this the round trip. All right. So Dale, what's a round trip commission and fee? Like how much would you generally
Well,
pay?
let's start by it's 88 cents per contract per leg. So I know you want to do round trip. So if you do round trip, that'd be multiplied by two
Okay. So 88% per contract
per
per
leg.
leg, right? So the round trip cost is going to be equals this. Oh, look what I did. I said equals, and then I used my arrow keys to move up and down. Okay, so you can do that, or you can use your mouse and point to it. Times 4 times 2. All right, so there is your round trip cost. And I like to just make sure that anything that is calculated like that, that I know that that's the bar tells me that's the 704 is the from whatever happened above it. So now what I can do, what I like to do with this, because this number is sort of sitting out here and could be anywhere in the sheet, could be in any one of these tabs, I could have this calculation. I'm going to do, this is a little bit advanced, but it's worth learning about. It's called a range name. Okay. I'm going to call this round trip cost. So anytime that I'm looking at cell AC11 right here, we're going to refer to it in English as round trip cost. And there's this area right here where I can give a cell a name. Now, why is that important? Because now when I come back to do my round trip cost, my commissions and fees, right? This is going to be equal to round trip cost. See how that shows up in my list all of a sudden? I can just start typing it in, and that's going to be times the number of contracts, right? So I'm just using my cursor and I'll choose that column. And now I've got 35 bucks in fees. And we can change from the white plus to the dark plus by clicking on that cell handle at the bottom right, drag that down. And now we've got the commissions and fees on each of our trades.
Now,
And then
how did you name a cell again? Because
yes, this is one of the more important things you can do, and it's advanced, but it's worth doing. So let's say I have this cell here called I can be anything I want. Let's just say project cost. All right, could be anything, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Whatever the number is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now that I've clicked on this cell and I want to give AC 15. See here? That
uh-huh.
intersection is AC 15 right now. I want to give
Right.
that a name, so I just type over it, project
You just
cost.
type over the cell.
The cell reference. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a very powerful thing because then it makes your spreadsheets more readable because I can look at this and I go, oh, Commissions and fees, that's the round trip cost times D8. Well, what's D8? Let me scroll this way. Well, I don't see D8. Oh, let me click on this. Look at that. It's the number of contracts, D8. Okay. So that's how I do a lot of my stuff. Okay. And now your net income. Okay. We just go right on to this. It's going to be your gross income minus your commissions and fees. And I'll just control C, control V, control V, control V, right? And there you have it. Okay. Now, I'll do one or two other things here. Let's imagine we did some things with simple functions, like all of these are combinations. They're just, I click on a cell and I go, the entry price is the STO times 100 times something, right? But either way, we just simply went across and we made these simple formulas. And now we want to sum up our gross income, our commissions and fees, and our net income, right? So how would I do that? So I'm going to place those up here just because I like having totals at the top so I don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom. So I'll just say here equals sum, and then I'll use my mouse and I'm going to drag down to here, all right? And then close it off. And we had 2950 in gross income. Look at this. I can copy this now, Control C, Control V. I paid 113 in commissions and fees, and my net is 2837. Okay. This kind of stuff, and once again, I can click here at any point in time, and I can see what is included in that sum. And I'm just here. You can do it one of two ways. You can press the move your cursor up to this formula area and click, or you can just press F2 while you're sitting on a cell, right? So anytime you do that, F2 will show me how the calculation is done.
F2 shows how the calculation is done.
F2 or clicking. Remember, I said Excel always gives you multiple choices. So I'm really fluent in Excel's function keys, so I don't have to think about it. I just press F2. But a beginner who isn't as familiar with them, you just click up here on the formula bar, and it will always show you how this is done, how the calculation is carried out, right? And I like this as a way to go because it's a very quick way to get your arms around Excel. Okay, to like the way we think, and like Sanj, I'm thinking about you with keeping track of your flies throughout the day. This would be a great way for you to do it, right? Because you can plug in your STO price, your entry date and time. When you close things out, you know where you are. And so on. So now let me put on a second fly because I want to like take us further in this journey. Actually, I want to do one other thing first. I want to add the time to visually here. It's shown up here on the formula bar, but it's not shown in the grid. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the cells here and I'll right click at this point. And there's an area where I can say format cells. And then there are a whole range of things you can do. So I'm going to go to date and see if there's anything in here that has date and time. Yeah, right there. Let's do that one. Okay. All right. So now that's great. I can actually see the time in there. It kind of eliminates some dissonance. And then I'm going to do the same thing here again. Just going to select this area, right click, format cells, have all these choices, date. So they have all these pre-formatted ones. I would use most of these most of the time. Right? Now, so suppose that now we put on another trade. And what's SPX going for right now?
Well, somebody put something in the chat here, Paul. Let's see.
I was just thinking, Paul, that after setting that format, that's a good opportunity to demonstrate the format painter. I use that thing all the time because it's just so convenient.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Let me sort of undo what we just did. Okay. So I'll redo it to here. Okay. but Excel has a feature called the format painter. So we've set a format down this column to show the date and time. And I want to copy that format. So I can click on Format Painter, and then I can select this whole area like this. And that will copy all of those formats over without having to go back into the Excel dialog. It's a nice feature, okay? Good point. Now, let me do one other thing. So, we're going to add a second fly here, and it occurs to me that we should include here what you see in the captain's log. We should include the fly number, right? FLY number, right? Boy, my caps are on or something. All right, so I'm going to call this the F1, right? And I'm just going to copy this down like that, okay? Because we're going to put on the second fly, and we might as well call that F2 so that it's identifiable down the road. So that's really easy. Well, I did that so fast, but let me undo it now so you can see what I did in sequence, okay? There. So what I did is in Excel, I'm like, well, I want to insert a column between symbol and contracts. So I can click on this column header. You have to click on the letter at the top. And you click here and say insert. And that inserts a whole entire column all the way down to the very bottom of the sheet at like row 1 million. And now I can just call this the fly number. And I typed in F1. And then I literally just will copy this way. All right. Now, let's do our second fly. Okay. Is there anything else we want to do? Yeah, I know where I'm going with this next. Okay. So we're gonna take all of these records, and I selected them, and in all the Microsoft products, by the way, whether you're doing Excel, Word, PowerPoint, anything, the method of how you get things done is what I call select, then do. So what I've done here is I've done select, right? And I've selected this. Now, what's my do? Well, I've got two things. I want to copy and paste. So I can click on copy, which puts the dotted lines around the area. And then I can click here and I can click paste, right? And that pastes them. So that's the do part. Now these are all F2. So I'm going to label these as such and just copy them down, okay? And because we don't know anything about these trades yet, these would reasonably be blank. This might be 6,900 at this point. Don't know. Let's see, you do the 6915, let's call it 69. Right. So let's just imagine we're putting on the 6915 and that we collect 18 bucks for it. Okay. So, and that this trade took place 10/29/25 at 12:11 p.m. Right. Right. So now I'm introducing into our dialogue. Let's do a couple of things, right? Let's carry these formulas that we just created. Let's carry them down, right? And here's what's beautiful is I can select, and then do. I want to copy this, so I can either click on copy, and I think I'll just do it that way because it's something people are familiar with and it's visual. And then I can just click on paste. And all of those functions come down in here, which is great, okay? Love it. Now, I want to introduce the idea of the difference between an active and a closed trade at this point. And I'm going to delete this column because I don't want it, right? I created a column out here called status because I'd really like to know, is this an active trade or am I done with it, okay? So to do that in Excel, we use, this is the most advanced topic you'll get today, I think. We use this idea of an if statement. Well, how do I know that this particular trade is active or is it closed? Well, by looking at the STO price versus the BTC price. Like these are all blank. Oh, so that must be an active trade. And these are all filled in, which means that it must have closed it out, right? So we can deal with that in Excel by putting in an if statement to do the calculation for us. Right? It's just another form of a formula, and I'll call this moderate in terms of complexity. So how does this work? This is start out the same way, equals if, and what I'm going to do is come back over here and click on the BTC price. And in Excel speak, I say if it's equal to nothing, and you put like two quotes with nothing in between. If it's equal to nothing, then we're going to say it's active. And if it's equal to something, we're going to say it's closed. Right? And so now I know that that's a closed trade. And I can copy that down like this.
And nothing was the two closed.
Nothing is the two closed right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and
That
something is what?
well, this
Yeah,
is what it,
okay.
the
But it's
idea
just
is
one of
it
them.
yeah, the idea is that if it's equal to nothing, meaning I'm on this row, right? And I'm looking and there's no value there, then that must be an active trade. That's the idea. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the true case. And then this is the false case right here. So this pretty typical if logic that people will do in Excel. But that's a nice feature to have so that you start having a sense of, what's going on here.
In
Okay.
in the closed one, it's just because there's nothing there.
Well, the closed is because there is a value. There is a value for the BTC price, which means that we closed out that trade. You have both an STO and a BTC. So this is the false case, right? That says, well, H9 has more in it than nothing. Okay. And so it builds out that. Okay. Now I do all of this mostly because where I want to go next with everyone is just to say, well, let's imagine that just for the sake of argument that now Dale in your IRA and non-IRA that you're doing. I'm going to very quickly take you through this now. Okay, let's say tell me two stocks that you're doing a poor man's covered call on.
Uh, NVIDIA, NVDA, and Meta, META.
Okay. So let's imagine you have that, and this is a PMCC, right? And this is a two-leg trade, right? And then you may have multiple transactions for these because you're always adjusting them. So I'm not going to get into that level of granularity right now, but I just want to show it to you this way for this reason. Okay, is that suppose that suppose that you put these trades on at 10 a.m. and I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm going to say you got $15 for them. Okay, and then I'm going to imagine that you have one of them you closed completely on Nvidia, and you got
Well, the poor man's covered call would actually be a buy to open because it's a debit spread.
yeah. I need I'm not trying to be technically precise.
Okay,
Well, I'll tell
okay.
you what, since flies work the way that they do, let me not actually I'm going to do it because I think there's a broader point I want to show you in the next piece of this. Okay, so 16, you got 13, and you exited this on 10 to 25 and 11 a.m. Right. And that's it. Okay. Now, what happens here is notice that our formula carried down for us. and it knows about the one closed trade and the one that's active. I don't know that I copied these formulas all the way down. So these fees aren't going to be exactly right by any stretch because these are more for a fly. But I'm just going to carry them in so you can see the rest of the example. Now, if I go back to where I was at the very beginning of this, let me go back to the slide because this is the point that I want to show you now. We showed a little bit about functions and equals this, C equals A plus B, sum, if statements. We did a little bit on lists. And now I want to show you this idea of a pivot table because I use pivot tables extensively and I want to show you how it applies to something like this. Now, what we did very simply was we did totals at the top, okay? But suppose we wanted to start, suppose Dale had a lot more going on here, right? Suppose that we took these trades and I'm going to drop them down here, right? And suppose we change the dates so that this is 11/1/25, at whatever time, doesn't really matter. Okay. And we'll do the same thing, 11/1/25 at 1 o'clock. Right? Because what you'll start doing over time is you will certainly accumulate a lot more in terms of data, right? So I came into this discussion saying, like, this group is very transaction oriented. So you might be collecting these things, these transactions over time, and you want all of your calculations to work. So I'm going to now copy, select, then do. I'll select this area, right? And I can do it in any way. I can select it with my mouse. Most people are going to be comfortable with that. Control C. I can select this area, Control V, and now look at this. It's done all of my calculations up here properly because these are all, are they right? Well, go look, right? Okay. That sum includes anything that's visible in this area. Perfect. That's exactly what I want, right? Now,
And how did you bring your calculations up to the top?
meaning up here, Dale?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I did is I started with a blank slate. When we started in the example, there was nothing up here at all. And
Right.
I just said, I used the Excel equals
Oh,
and then
okay.
sum,
Yeah,
and
and then you
then
just highlighted all that
select the
stuff.
area. Yeah,
Okay. All right,
right.
nice.
And then
Okay.
now Control C for copy, Control V for paste, Control V for paste. And it changes if you look closely at these formulas. This is column Q. Now I go over here. When I
And,
copied it, it set it to R, and
and
then it
when you
set this to
did
S.
and when you did copy paste, it brings in all those functions over to that for that
That's
column.
right. Yeah, and it moves the column number for you, the column letter. It will move that as well.
Nice.
All right, so now here's where I'm gonna, before I show you what we're gonna do next, I want to show you in my workbook that I trade in, like what I've done in terms of what's called a pivot table. It's a great feature. It's not as well known as it should be, but I think for a group like this, you would get a huge amount of benefit from it. So give me a minute while I open up my workbook and get to the right place. I want to show you how powerful this is when you have a list of transactions.
I'm just curious to maybe check in with the group to see how many folks are still with you.
I'm here.
Okay.
And I'll be wrapping up here in the next 5 or so minutes. Okay.
And I'm with you, Paul, but I'm also scalping at the same time. So that's kind of why there's times where I'll have you repeat something because I really wanted to get it, but I was adjusting a trade or something.
Right. But you see how the great deal helpful to know, and for people on the call, you see like how this idea of a list is really important to what we're doing because we do a crazy amount around transactions, and you have to know where you are, and then over time you want to be able to like sum it up in 10 different ways and that sort of thing. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I have a very advanced workbook because I've been doing this forever. So you're going to see some features that you won't see. I won't go into these on how you would do these today, but I think it's enough to give you a taste of what you can do over time. And don't just think, oh, Paul did this because he's an Excel whiz. I mean, I can tell you that everything I've learned through the School of Hard Knocks and doing it over a long period of time. I'm just getting this.
And my ES scalping is going well so far.
Yeah, did it close or where is it?
No, no,
What's
no, not Pan W, but just ES.
oh well,
Pan
that
W is currently at 218.02, and we're close numbers at 218.51.
okay. All right, now to give you a feeling of how this all comes together, okay? Here's a sheet that I have. Okay, now this looks like, and I'm showing you this so that you can see like some of what I've shown you so far is exactly what I'm doing. So for instance, here I have all of these trades. At the bottom of this, these are the scalps that I did this morning. And notice that everything in yellow is like my data entry area. And look, I have, is it a position is it sold? This is the same as what we just did in our sheet where we said, is it active or is it closed? I have a formula that tells me when I look at the row, what's the status of this data, okay? Now, I can come over here, and this is all yellow. It's all sorts of stuff that I keep track of. But look, purchase price, target price, stop price. I keep track of all of those for these scalps, right? Then out here, a little further down, I have a whole list of like what scalps am I into right now in the rose color area. So everything over here in my convention is white, meaning another color, not yellow, meaning that these are all calculations is how I think about my workbooks and how I structure them. Now, in terms of reports, I want to introduce you now to a concept called a pivot table. I have a list. You have a list. So in our workbook, this is our list. And I want to convert this into an ability for me to easily see at a summary level everything that I've done so far. So in Excel speak, they call that a pivot table. And this is an example of one account that I have of a pivot table where I can say, look, in this account in 2025, I have made $9,000. And this is showing me by week. It's showing me by different strategies and so on, the wheel, the scalp, I have an at the money strategy. And then I have a whole series of other ways that I may want to look at this. I may want to look at it by each of the different securities. What was the type of transaction? I may want to look at daily activity so I can see a breakdown by week and then day within week of what I did. Time series where I can look at this by quarters, by months, by year. I can look across multiple years, right? 2022 to 2025. Can look at this by quarter across all those time periods. These cross tabs in Excel are called pivot tables. By different strategies and on and on. I have all different ways that I'm interested in looking at these numbers. But foundationally, what's happening is if you look closely, look at this 94,704, right? 94,704. They're all different views. This one doesn't total up for some reason, maybe because I left off some months. 94,704, right? I have some other things I have at a more high level that are more graphical, but the idea is these pivot tables look into the list that we created, meaning my list, and they are smart enough to do those tallies for us. So now let me take you on the walkthrough, and this is the last part of what I wanted to go through today. How do we take this list and give ourselves that powerful capability of a pivot table that we have done so far? Now, and by the way, what do we have here? We might want to slice and dice these numbers by account, by symbol, by maybe the strategy, right? I might want to see these numbers in different ways. I might be interested in looking at gross income only, commissions and fees only, net income only. Oh, here's another one. I might want to see, well, is it active or is it closed, right? So a pivot table will help you to be able to do those sorts of things. So here's how it works. The step-by-step is I now have this well-formed list, and Excel says I can insert a pivot table. It's off of the insert menu, and I choose insert pivot table now. That's smart enough to say, hey, you're pulling data, Paul, from this list of columns from B7, which is over here, to X51, which is out on the far right and then down at row 51, right? Place this pivot table into a new sheet. Bam. Okay. Now, this is a little odd, but now what we want to do is if I wanted to say, show me a report by account, you have this list of columns here, and I can drag them into the rows. And look at that. I've got all of Dale's accounts. And let's just say I wanted to do a very simple report that showed me my net income. Right? I can click on net income and drag that down here in as a value. And all of a sudden, 61, 349, 44. And let's see if that ties out. If we go to the data, if we go to the start sheet, which is where we started, we had 61,349, right? And I think that's what we have right here. Okay. So that's exactly what you want. And then you can say, I like this, but I really want to see by strategy. So now we can start to play around with these columns.
Hey, Paul, we're out of Palo Alto Networks.
Bingo. All right. I didn't hear it go off on my system.
Thank you.
Made 135.
Oh, good, Dale.
Wait, and 135 if you only sold 50 shares.
Well, because I made $135 on, wait, here's another one. I made $54. Let's see.
Okay. Oh, you did it more in one account. Yeah, because it was
I did $54.50 in one account, and I did $54.50 in a second account, and I did $48.75 in a third account.
Okay.
And I did $54.50 in a fourth account.
Yeah, I haven't hit my target yet, so I'm still waiting. Okay. All right, so let me wrap this up, guys. So the reason pivot tables are so powerful is this, okay? I can, you have a column list here, you have this, which is I call the palette, and I can start to mix this around. I can say, show me this in different ways. I drag the accounts down into the rows. One of mine just went. All right. I can move around what's happening here on the canvas, if you will, by simply dragging these columns around. Okay. Move them any way you want. You can say, show me, remember we had our column here called status. Show me everything that's open and closed. So here's active and closed. Okay. You have all sorts of ways that you can start to do this. You can say, now I'm looking at net income. Maybe I want a slightly different view of this, but we can we can really start to play around with this. And here we're looking at net income, but maybe we want to look at gross income. And we want to look at commissions and fees, and we want to look at net income. So all of a sudden, here you have it. You have a very nice way of looking at exactly where your trades are at any point in time. And many, many other things that you can do with this. But this pivot table idea is absolutely huge because it gives you such great flexibility over what you're doing. Flies, PMCCs. Yeah, so we showed it, and like I say, you can move these around any way you want. Sometimes it can become nonsensical, so you get used to playing with it. Here I move the status up to the top in what they call the filter area, which means that right here, I can say I can click on that down drop and just say, show me everything that's active. Show me everything that is closed, and so on. Show me everything that I can see it. And now we can drag these around any other way that we want. So you have all sorts of many, many different options on how you can show your data, but it gives you a good feeling, like very quickly, look at what did I create? Like 10 reports inside of about 35 seconds using this pivot table idea. Very, very powerful inside of Excel. And it starts every single time with a well-formed list like we have right here, okay? So now, let me recap what we've done in this maybe hour or so since we've been here. Just take you back to my slides, okay? So we walked through some very basic Excel in terms of adding, addition, subtraction, and sum. All of these are always started by placing your cursor in a cell and then saying equals, and then pointing to the other cells and doing your plus, your PEMDAS on it, your addition, multiplication, and subtraction, right? We walked through lists just briefly to where when I showed you the list, I made a point to say that anything that you're entering as data, then you would keep in yellow because it's a nice way to mark it off and you'll know it when you look at it. And then anything that's calculated, just leave as white or another non yellow color, whatever you like. Okay. Now, we did that. And then additionally, I showed you pivot tables and I talked about this idea of a range name where out here we assigned this cell a name by clicking on the area and then typing in this value. What's nice about a range name again is that when you start to do formulas, the range name shows up in the formula and it makes it much more readable. You kind of know what you're looking at when you do it, right? Now I'm going to show you one last thing because this is, I think this is, give you a feeling for how malleable this can be. So Mr. Perryman, as you know, I'm going to insert a column. He trades for himself and then he trades for family, right? So we're going to have the FAF column, friends and family, okay? And this is going to be me, myself, and we'll copy this on each of Dale's accounts like that, okay? And then these are going to be family, right? All right, so I just added some additional descriptive information, which is helpful. But why did I do that? Because I want to jump over now to our pivot table. Okay. Now notice over here in this column list that it doesn't have that FAF column yet. But when I right click on the pivot table anywhere in this area, anywhere, and I say refresh, note that FAF is now here, okay? So Mr. Perryman could say, I'm interested in looking at what I'm doing for myself versus what I'm doing for everyone else, and he can start to see how that fits. All right, you see the me, myself stuff. And if we wanted to like get crazy with it, we could drop all the accounts in so you could see that these accounts fall under his me, myself, and that these accounts fall under family. And if we wanted to get rid of the strategy because it's too much noise, let's get rid of it. Right? Um, Pivot tables, very few people know how to use them, but I would say the combination of a good list, like we built here, and then a pivot table can give you like 90 to 95% of the information that you really want and need most of the time. So why don't I stop with that? That's plenty to digest. We have a recording of it, and I think it's a good stopping point. Questions from the floor?
Well, just you just said you did record this, so were you able to access that someplace or anytime?
I didn't record it. Somebody in the group requested to record it, and I okayed it.
Oh, I thought Paul recorded it. I'm sorry, because I heard it say recording in progress, so I didn't.
Yeah, that's
I thought that was Paul's.
somebody in the group requested to record that.
It was
Wasn't
me.
me.
I'm recording it.
Okay. And Mark, if you if
I
you
didn't
could,
start it right from the beginning, but yeah,
yeah,
as soon as so it was. I mean, I'm not even a basic level of an Excel, so most of the stuff goes right over my head.
well, Mark, do you know how to drag that into a YouTube and post it or not?
Um, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it, Mark, if you could.
Yeah,
because
no problem. Yeah.
Basic, very basic too. A lot of that went over my head initially, so I'm going to have to watch it a couple times.
Yeah, well, I think
I'm
that's
an A plus B guy right now. That's about
Yep, exactly. And that would be most people getting out of the gate. So what I did today is I walked you through some, the very basic of basic features with A plus B type functionality, the simple calculations. And then I started moving you into intermediate by pushing you into this idea of a pivot table or a range name. But I would say like those types of things, you start to use them more regularly as a novice, and they'll move you into high level proficiency very, very quickly. This idea of a list is foundational to what this group would do because of the transactional nature of what we do. And that's specifically why I picked that example.
Yeah, I can't even figure out. Well, didn't spend much time, but on the captain's log that you shared, Dale, I'm trying to figure out how to connect that to real time, quotes where it updates the S&P.
Well, why don't we do this? Let me do like a 5 to 10 minute, session on that because anyone who's on Thinkorswim would benefit from that topic. And it's easy to do, but you just have to have a little bit more fluency of Excel and the RTD functions to do it.
And next time, let's call out, okay, let's start the recording, and things like that. So we'll be sure we'll get a good recording. I didn't record this one.
Well, I can put together a recording of this that's clean that everyone can have. If you'll all excuse me, I need to run out and I have a package coming in I need to go get. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
So yeah, I'm trying to connect that captain's log, Iron Flight for real time quotes.
Yeah, that's Paul can show you that when he gets back from getting his package. Are you trying to use it within the Florida man's captain's log?
No, I'm trying to see if some days to fly the RUT instead of the S&P SPX.
All right. Well, why don't you bookmark that discussion, and then when Paul gets back, he can possibly help you. I think it's an what's RTD functions?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the real-time data to show on Excel. That's kind of what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul could help with that as soon as he gets his package. Well, our little scalp on PANW worked. That was cool.
Yeah, that was great.
Go through a little bit. If you'd like me to go through a little bit of that, I am happy to. In
But
terms of,
back to the Excel thing real quick. No, that was awesome. And I do like the idea, like what Dale suggested, like you may to make like 3 minute little snippet videos, maybe on YouTube or whatever. Like, we could do it together, like as a group or whatever, where you just do 3 minute little,
Right.
okay, this is our daily Excel lesson or something.
yeah, I'll
Right.
do a bunch of shorts for you. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And
Yeah.
I would love to be an audience member of that.
Yeah,
And
me
we could
too.
just do, so see if you could, and you could probably even use Chat GPT to help you break it down into very short segments. Right?
Yeah,
Break the
I'm
skills
sure.
down.
Yeah.
And you don't have to follow it, but it would at least give you a template. Like if you were to break Excel down into 3 minute short topics over some long period of time, how would you break it apart? And then you could decide if you like it or not, and use that kind of almost as a template.
Yeah.
Paul, this is Chris. Thank you very much for this introduction. I found it very useful. I think that another topic that may be helpful for definitely for me and I don't know for the group is if you can also talk about the graphical some graphical representation of the data that you have helped us work on. I think that maybe that would be helpful.
How to put it into a chart.
Yes.
Happy to. Okay. Happy to.
How to put it in a chart, how to update the charts automatically, how to use the data from a pivot table into a chart.
Yeah, there's a huge amount on that, and seriously, once that foundationally you have this uh, list concept nailed down, then pivot tables and then charts based upon pivot tables, it all comes together very, very nicely. It's to me like these are some of the features of Excel that a lot of people would benefit from, but they need a little coaching to get them over the line of how exactly to use them. Takes time. Okay, so would you like me to share again here, and I'll walk you through how I
Sure.
do these scalps?
Do you want me to record?
That's fine. Sure.
Okay, sure, Paul.
Okay. Now, mhm.
All right, this is Paul Gunderson, and he's going to walk us through some of his scalping strategy. Paul?
Okay, thank you, Dale. Now, scalping is an area that I became interested in because I had done a series of very detailed PhD level research, I'll call it, about 5 years ago on different trading strategies and saying, does one strategy, will it produce better results versus another? And I went through a series of crazy simulations that allowed me to adjust a whole variety of variables. So coming out of that, and also having been a part, so step one, step two, having been a part of this group and doing intraday related activity, it occurred to me that making a small amount of money, but frequently, like frequent turnover, is a great way to make a buck and minimize my risk. So the purpose of my scalp strategy is to identify trades that I can be into and out of and close out of at the end of the day and to be profitable in those. And I'll show you my list of trades, a little later on, okay?
And you're not sharing anything yet, are you, Paul?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out. Here we go.
This is Paul's screen, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, you are looking at it. You are looking at it. Yeah. Okay. I'll do it again. All right. So what I did is I had done a fair amount of reading from John Bollinger a couple of years ago on his Bollinger Bands book, and he specifically talks about working in different time frames. And he has a table in his book where he talks about short term, mid-term, and long term. So the long term is strategic. So long term for me is the stock going up? Has it gone up 10% in the trailing 12 months? All right. That's what my long term I'm defining as trailing 12 months. Then I'm saying, does the stock have enough? This is a scan I created in Thinkorswim. Does the stock have enough volume, like more than 1 million shares on average per day for the past 20 days, that I can get in and out of it at will, pretty much? Then I'm looking for in the minute data to say, has this stock taken a dip? And then finally, I'm going to talk about this thing called the percentage above the dotted line, above my target. You'll understand what that means in just a minute. And then finally, volatility has to be at least 30%. So I created this scan, and it will return for me a list of stocks. Okay. So, so it gives me this list. Now, this list, I break into 4 different categories. This column, top to bottom, represents NASDAQ stocks. This represents S&P. Then over here, if I go this way, these are stocks that are trading above their moving average. These are stocks that are trading below their moving average. So I like to make most of my picks from up in here. And what I've done in Thinkorswim then is created these graphs. And I'll walk you through what this means.
And you can go to annotate on Zoom, and that will, and you choose like a little pointer, which might make it more apparent about what you're pointing to.
All right. I get to choose what? It's on a different screen. That's weird. I just chose annotate, Dale.
Yeah, you choose annotate, and then it's got a bunch of things that you could select. One of them I like to use is kind of like a little pointer or highlighter kind of thing. I don't know if you can find that.
I chose annotate.
Should give you like a little screen next to your screen that's like a little vertical thing that you could point to.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Here it is.
I mean, I can see your mouse, but the annotate button would allow you to do a number of different things.
Dale, I'm looking at your screen.
Oh.
I think I see Paul's screen with the chart.
Yeah, I see Paul's screen.
I see Paul's screen.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that he could in Zoom choose annotate, and
it's not letting me do it on. It's letting me do it on a. Hang on, just a minute.
Yeah. Well,
it's not letting me do it on this screen for some oddball reason. Let me see if I can.
All right. Well, you can just go ahead. I'll see if maybe it's a setting. Yeah. Philippe's heckling us. All right, just go ahead and go through then and forget it.
Weird. I don't see it now. All right. Well, the idea then is that I've built these different graphs. This is a 3-year graph that if I look at like Monster Beverage here, let's look at this guy. Okay, I have some trades on right now in Monster. They haven't done anything today, but I will go through and I'll say this list is my S&P. It's trading above its moving average as defined by this chart right here. The price is above the rose-colored line. And then it's got an implied volatility of 36, so I like staying above 30. And then what I'm looking for is like here, there is a drop off in price. Let me just kind of go through a couple of these, see if I can find one that I'd like to buy. Well, this is an interesting one, Visa. I like Visa. And if you notice in this that their low is 196, their high is 370 in the past 3 years. So I like it. Good trend, right? They've been bouncing around this year. This is a 10-day chart, so I can see in the last 10 days, has it been flat, moving up, moving down? But this chart is where I make my decision. If I come back to Bollinger, he said, think in 3 time frames: strategic, long-term, mid-term, 10-day, short term. So this is where I choose my entry point. So right now, I would get into Visa because I like them as a company. I've traced their financials, their revenue and their earnings are always increasing. They're a great company to be in. So, but notice this dotted line right here. Okay. What I did, remember when we were setting up the trade for Dale and Sandra today, that I said, hey, what's the last price? So you see last 340.9, target 342.67. Now this will adjust as the chart updates, but then I give it a score. And in the last 2 days in minute data, meaning 780 bars, 94, almost 95% of the time we're trading above this dotted line right here. That's the target price that you see here in this flyout. When I see that and I go, gee, strategically they're moving up, but they're taking a dip right now, I'm going to buy this stock. That's how I will do it. And then I'll set an OCO order for it. So I'd set up a template. Let's see if I can do this. Buy. And then
are you doing it now? You think it's a good candidate now, Paul?
well, it is a good candidate now, yeah. And there's a way, I don't remember how to use a template here because I haven't done it very much. But nonetheless, I had saved a custom template and maybe it's confirm and send. And somewhere, and I have to figure out how to do that again. I forget how to use the template that I actually created, which is funny.
If you go to the trade button from there, probably from there.
I'll tell you what, let me not get you hung up in that because I want to keep you focused on, that's trade execution. I'll come back to that when I've done it a few more times. But this is one I'd get into because when I look at this chart, which tells me, should I enter? It's at a price I only have to make up from, down in here up to this dotted line to make money. And then, 90% of the time, as of a couple minutes ago, the closes, the minute closes for every minute for the past 2 days were above that line. So I like that as a stock, but that's how I'm getting into these. Okay. That's how I'm getting in it. And, these are just watch lists that I've created that are based upon that scan. Let me see if there are any others, just to give some other examples. But I'm always looking at this score, what I call the score 780. And by the way, all of this stuff that I did in terms of formulas that were required and the use of ThinkScript to do this, I had ChatGPT create for me. I said, I'm looking to create this or that, and it created it for me. I literally cut and paste the code. So I'm happy to share all of this, including the charts and the layouts and all that. But that's how I'm doing it. I just do a quick scan. Like, I don't know that I'd get into, this is Hershey. I don't know. They're not doing anything today, but 76, nah, I don't like that. So some days I come along and I don't see anything I'd really like. Or if I don't know much about the business, or if it's like an REIT, I'm not going to get into it. But I'm definitely looking at volatility. I'm looking at the volume sizzle. Is there more volume on this stock now than there was a week ago? And so on. But I don't stew over it, but I very quickly will make these decisions.
And what's the stop loss that you're setting on?
I'm doing the stop loss is 6%, so 94%. And so I just create an OCO order with the buy, and I'm good to go. That's how I've done it. And let me give you a feeling for results on this, because I was walking through some of this with Dale and my son Steven last night. I think you'll find it to be interesting. Right. So here's the workbook that just shows you my trades from September the 2nd until yesterday. Okay. And in short, if you kind of look at the profit loss column and this cumulative column. Now, let's come back to what we just showed you in Excel, right? So I have a profit loss percent. So this is how much money I made. I made $349 on September 3rd. And as a percentage of my max buying power, this number, that's my profit loss. As I say, how much buying power did I consume on that day? So I made 1.7% and 0.6%, 0.96%. So this is how much I'm making every day at a couple of losing days throughout, right? So as of yesterday, I was at 19% in about 2 months. And if I annualize that, it's 128% per year. And what's behind this, so this is what the graph looks like, just to give you a feeling for it. And then the only other things I'd say is I keep track of every trade. So this gives you, guess what, guys? We're looking at a list again, are we not? Symbol ID, trade date, entry date and time, exit, cost basis, profit loss, lapse time, and some other calcs. So what I'm finding with this, and this is every single trade that I've made through end of business yesterday. And in short, when we look at the main points of interest, that I'll flag this number: 72% of the time, I am exiting at a profit within 4 hours. So this is a cumulative number to here. These add this way. So within 4 hours, I'm getting out, and this gives you. I did have a couple losses in there, but you can see that on anything between this less than 60 minutes, I had 85 wins of 185 trades, which is 46% within 60 minutes. Right. And then, you can see the other stats here, but 72% of the time I'm out within 4 hours. And, I've had, where's my win losses? I've had 88% win rate, 12% loss rate so far. And for anyone who's really technically minded, ChatGPT generated a program for me that helped me look at my buying power. So if you look at like here, this is my total buying power column right here. And here's trade number 1 that represents the total. Come down here a little further. Now I've got 2 trades on. So my total buying power is 20,000 and change. And then, in other places, I'm running, 3, 4 trades, 5 trades at a time. So I asked ChatGPT to write me a program that would help me understand my buying power in 5-minute increments of time based upon overlap in trades. And I used those numbers to come up with this average and this max that you see right here. So it's always changing, but you get a feeling like, okay, that's not bad. I've done about, probably $6,000 by the end of the month at an annualized rate of 128. So we'll see where this goes. But this is what I'm doing.
I'm in Visa.
All right, good for you, Dale. and that would be the last trade I would put on for today. Because I try to, one of my rules is to like not put on trades much after 12:30. Like I'll stretch to 1 o'clock, but I'm definitely because of that idea of within 4 hours, I'm usually out of my trades. I'm at 12 o'clock, I'm saying, at 1 o'clock, that's kind of the outer edge of when I'll enter a position. And then between 3 and 4 Eastern, I'm starting to exit anything that I haven't gotten out of yet. That's it, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. Very cool.
Thank you, Paul. Question, you mentioned that you were going to share the studies that can be pasted on Thinkorswim. Are you sharing it on the trade diff or
I haven't thought that far ahead yet, actually. I'd be happy to share it on Trade Diff. Dale, if you want to tell me where to place it.
There's a place called Study Scripts.
Okay. Well, let me package it up, and I should probably go through a round of working with someone to do it, because, um, for instance, this particular chart has studies associated with it, and I need to be sure that like all of that stuff carries over. Like there's Think Script associated with this stuff. No, I didn't write any of this. I mean, ChatGPT wrote this, but I need to be sure that you get every single piece of it. So maybe if I could work with someone to go through like the step by step of setting it up on your machine, given the scripts that I've created, that would save everyone else a lot of time.
Yeah, I think there's a way just of kind of sharing that study. I think everything comes over with it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I ought to do it with someone so that, we know it's a smooth process
Yeah.
for everyone.
I think what gets a little clunky is importing it. There's like a way to import it in that's kind of challenging or clunky with
Like it gives you a link,
process.
right? It gives you a link to it. So I could write, am I still sharing
Yeah,
this?
yeah, you are. Well, maybe you and I work offline and see if you can get it to work on my system, and then if we can, then we'll create a video maybe or something of that.
Because there's this share workspace, and this is what I'd want to share. And then, it gives me,
Is there like a share grid?
well, this is what I don't know. I mean, it's just share
Yeah,
workspace, which is this whole thing, but will it automatically give you all the charts and all of the
I
studies that
I
go
think
along with it?
I think it will if you import it if you import it correctly. So go ahead and paste that into study scripts, and then those of you who know how to import it, try and import it and see what it does. So you just kind of click on share and then go into study scripts on Discord, hit Control V. I think I can stop recording now.
Yeah.
and the question number two, we just talked about before you came on, the linking a real-time quotes like SPX or Russell 2000 RUT to Captain's Log,
Let's take that on next week sometime. I'll be happy to
Okay.
walk everyone through it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
There's some good stuff on that, and I downloaded it long time ago when it was still TD Ameritrade.
Okay.
Study scripts. Okay, so I'm putting this into study scripts right now. study scripts. Oh, you don't need to record this. I placed it in study scripts, but
Yeah.
someone feel